but I'm still a little suspicious about the timing and how it's all rolled out here.
Yeah, it's been about 20 plus years, man, and they finally doing something about it, man.
Oh, 27, brother. 27.
The biggest scandal in music history, the lie that's been buried for almost 30 years, and now Tupac's own blood is ready to expose it. What if his death wasn't a tragedy, but a setup? What if the industry's biggest names covered it up to protect their empire? With missing witnesses, corrupt cops, and files linked to Cuba, this isn't just a story about one rapper. It's about power, betrayal, and a truth that could shatter everything we thought we knew. For years, fans have clung to the official story that Tupac was gunned down in Las Vegas, a victim of the violent West Coast scene. But what if that version was never the full truth? Now, Map Shakur, Tupac's own brother, is stepping into the spotlight, and he's not holding back. In a rare, emotionally charged interview, he laid bare his doubts, questioning everything from law enforcement's role to the very people closest to Tupac. His words hit hard because this isn't gossip or wild speculation. It's coming from family, people who lived with Tupac, breathed his pain, and watched his rise and fall. If even they believe something darker was at play, it's a signal to the world that the story isn't over, it's only unraveling. Map didn't just hint at trouble, he pointed fingers. He called out police corruption, outdated investigations, and powerful names who never wanted the truth to surface. And when pressed about Diddy's innocence, Map didn't waver. His message was clear. The lies ran deep, and those in power worked overtime to keep them buried. This wasn't just about one night. It was about an empire built on silence, fear, and manipulation. As the pieces come together, it's becoming impossible to ignore the cracks forming in the story fans have been told for decades. Map Shakur's revelations aren't coming from a place of anger or wild imagination. They come from years of silence, confusion, and unanswered questions. He's not some outsider trying to stir controversy. He's Tupac's own brother, someone who stood by him through the chaos and knew the man behind the headlines. That's what makes his words hit even harder. When fans first heard Tupac had been shot, they mourned, they speculated, but they never thought to question the official story. Now, Map is forcing the world to reconsider everything. He didn't just question the night Tupac was attacked, he's questioning the entire narrative surrounding it. Why were we never kept in the loop, he asks. Why were interviews given for years with no arrests, no answers? He believes the family was deliberately kept in the dark while key players crafted their version of events. Map's frustration isn't just about missed opportunities for justice. It's about being lied to, shut out, and erased from the conversation while the world moved on. And when it comes to Diddy, he makes it clear he never bought the denials. In fact, he recalls telling him years ago, "One day, the truth will come out." That kind of statement doesn't come from hearsay. It comes from watching the system manipulate, delay, and silence those who dared to ask questions. Map's doubts resonate because they reflect a deeper wound, a betrayal that's personal and public all at once. If a family member can't trust the story, how can anyone? And this is exactly what's driving fans, investigators, and even insiders to dig deeper. It's not about conspiracy for the thrill of it. It's about uncovering the truth that's been buried under power plays, fear, and strategic silence. The night Tupac was shot has always been wrapped in confusion, chaotic scenes, flashing lights, and conflicting reports. But now, those contradictions are being pulled apart piece by piece, and what's emerging is far more chilling than fans ever imagined. This wasn't some random street attack. It wasn't a feud blown out of control. According to Matt, the danger Tupac faced wasn't coincidence. It was planned, calculated, and connected to the very people who were supposed to have his back. It all started with something as small and as suspicious as a traffic stop. That very night, Las Vegas police pulled Tupac's crew over for loud music. Sounds harmless, right? But think about it. What are the odds that a superstar surrounded by bodyguards gets stopped just hours before being ambushed? Map sees it as a warning sign, proof that law enforcement may have been tipped off or even involved. He also points out that officers with questionable histories, including off-duty cops with grudges against Tupac, were lurking too close to the action. These weren't random players. They were pieces in a game where someone wanted him vulnerable. Then there's the connection to Diddy's label. Tupac's strained relationship with Bad Boy, Biggie's camp, and the constant tension between East and West Coast rivals have been discussed for years. But Map goes deeper, suggesting Tupac's potential move toward Bad Boy wasn't just about music, it was about aligning with his community, a move that threatened the status quo. That made him a target. Power, money, and control over the game were at stake, and if Tupac's choices disrupted the balance, eliminating him would have served more than one agenda. This section of the story forces fans to reconsider the attack as a targeted strike, not street violence. The police stop, the insider's silence, and the timing, it's all starting to feel like a setup. And if that's true, it means the real story is hidden behind smoke and mirrors. Just when you think the story couldn't get darker, it takes a turn that feels straight out of a thriller. Among the files seized during federal raids on Diddy's empire, investigators reportedly uncovered something that sent shockwaves through conspiracy circles, documents simply labeled Cuba. That single word is enough to reignite decades of whispers. Because for years, fans have speculated that Tupac didn't die in Vegas at all, that he escaped, disappeared, and made his way to the same island where his aunt, Assata Shakur, has lived in exile. It sounds wild. A rapper faking his death, escaping to Cuba under the radar? But these weren't just fan theories. People claimed to see him there, bald head, familiar walk, piercing eyes. Video clips surfaced, blurry but eerie, showing a man who looked too much like Tupac to be coincidence. Now, with files connected to Cuba in Diddy's possession, the question is no longer, did Tupac escape? But why would Diddy hide that information? Mapp didn't hold back when talking about it. He reminded the world how federal agents don't raid mansions without cause. If they were looking for something deeper than cash or memorabilia, it means they suspect more than just money laundering. These Cuba files could be payment logs, coded messages, or worse, evidence that Tupac's disappearance wasn't an accident, but a secret kept at the highest levels. Why else would the files be hidden in plain sight? Why now, after all these years? The theory ties into past claims that a body double was switched at the hospital, that Castro himself gave the blessing, and that Tupac's escape was orchestrated with military precision. Critics called it fantasy, but then one of the only witnesses ready to speak up turned up dead. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe someone didn't want the truth leaking. And here's where it gets even scarier. This isn't about one man protecting his reputation. It's about a system built on fear, bribery, and silence. If files like these exist, they could prove that an entire narrative was manufactured. A superstar's death used as cover for something far bigger than anyone ever suspected. If the Cuba files are enough to shake the foundation of this case, the unanswered questions and missing pieces are even more damning. Years of investigation, interviews, and speculation have led nowhere, and that's not by accident. Key witnesses have vanished, reports have been doctored, and the very agencies tasked with finding the truth have looked the other way. One witness, known only as Victim 3 in court files, has completely disappeared. Even her lawyer can't track her down. How does someone vanish in 2025 under global media scrutiny, and why weren't these gaps exposed sooner? Mapp isn't surprised. He's called it a system rigged to protect power. After all, if witnesses are slipping away today, what hope did they have in the 90s when fear ran deeper and influence stretched farther? Evidence wasn't just mishandled, it was erased. Questions went unanswered. And every time a lead surfaced, it mysteriously fizzled out. Law enforcement's corruption wasn't a flaw, it was a feature. From officers with histories of abuse to internal cover-ups, every step points to a structure designed to silence dissent and protect those at the top. And then there's Suge Knight, the man behind the wheel when shots rang out on the Vegas Strip, the architect of an empire that thrived in chaos, and a figure who's never been afraid to speak in riddles. Locked away with nothing left to lose, Suge has dropped cryptic hints for years. In 2014, he flatly claimed Tupac wasn't dead and asked why nobody had been arrested if that were true. Those breadcrumbs are now fueling speculation that he's sitting on tapes, documents, or the kind of evidence that could tear the industry apart. What's even more chilling is that insiders believe he's already given prosecutors reason to dig deeper. If Suge finally spills the truth, it could not only implicate powerful figures, it could expose a whole network built on intimidation, bribery, and control. And let's not forget Diddy's name, which keeps surfacing in connection with every twist in the case. From whispers that he offered bounties to hush payments, to files linking him to Cuba, to his frantic attempts to arrange private meetings, the more time passes, the shakier his denials become. Federal records show his name mentioned more than 40 times in relation to Tupac's death. Why would a man so connected to the music world be repeatedly pulled into this tragedy's darkest corners unless something bigger was at play? Layer this together. Missing witnesses, a history of police corruption, fear silencing insiders, and Suge Knight's cryptic threats, and the picture that forms is more than scandal. It's a carefully orchestrated cover-up that has stood for nearly 3 decades. Every new lead only deepens the mystery, and every unanswered question seems to scream, someone powerful wanted this truth buried, and they've done everything in their power to make sure it stays that way.